It's great to be a Miami Hurricane. Welcome to Canescast, everybody. I am your host, Garrett Halsey. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about the 2024 Hurricanes football schedule is complete. We know where the Hurricanes will be playing away and at home, and I will go through each and every one of my thoughts on each game, see what the way too early outlook will be for the 2024 football season. I don't know that I'll make a prediction this episode because there's lots of change. Spring ball still got to come. Probably a lot more roster turnover going to happen between now and then. But it is fun to talk about the games and kind of give you what my preseason thoughts are going to look like. Then also the NFL playoffs are really kind of set. The Super Bowl is set in stone. I did make a prediction on the two people that would face off in that game, and I was wrong about one of them. First off, I want to thank each and every one of the subscribers that's been here either multiple episodes or multiple years, because this is our second season, full season of doing the show. Thank you each and every one of you that tunes into the show and comments, gets the thumbs up on those. Welcome new subscribers. Hopefully you'll tune in to the end of the episode and share your thoughts with each of your Cane friends. Or maybe Cane detractors, and tell them to also check out the Miami Hurricanes content that we put out right now each and every week. The more and more that we get the show rolling, hopefully we can start doing multiple episodes each week. But I really am grateful for each and every one of you that tunes in and supports the show. So first off, we got the away game at the Florida Gators, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Miami Hurricanes will roll into that game the first week of the season. What's really crazy is those are really tough games, especially an in-state rival like Florida. We haven't played them in several seasons. They're an SEC team. They won't put us on the schedule every year because I think they're still kind of afraid of us. But the last time Miami Hurricanes played Florida, they did lose that game. And what we would expect this year is that Miami's going to have a good roster. Young talent has been cultivated for the last couple of recruiting cycles. A lot of the young guys have gotten some experience in maybe not major roles, except for like Ruben Hurricane Bain and Francis Mauigoa in the freshman class this last year. But they've done an okay job. I won't say I'm totally on board with all the guys getting the playing experience. If you watch previous episodes, I won't rehash. You can go back and watch those episodes and see my thoughts. But this will be a tough game. You have a major program where you start the season off. It's really a 50-50 game. It could go either way. Florida is no slouch. They haven't had the greatest season. They didn't make the bowl games last year. But this is a big-time program. You can never underestimate the opponent, but when you're a major and in a state school, this is not necessarily playing Florida State, but it's just as tough of a game. When you play that the first game of the season, that's not really the ideal way. You'd like to have, what is opponent number 2. We'll talk here in a second, but you like to have that build up, and you get games, to kind of get guys comfortable, get them in the system, because every year is a new team. There's guys that are held over from the previous roster, but you still got to gel. Quarterback's got to get timing with receivers. Line needs to get time with the cadence. The guy behind them calling the plays and running the play each and every snap. So that's really a tough game. You got, talented people on the other end of the other sideline. And again, it's an away game, so it's even tougher to go in there and just dominate. I think that's going to be a very close game at the Florida Gators, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. The place will be rocking. It's the first game of the season. Everyone's going to be excited to see where the football team lies. It is a good barometer to know where the program will be right off the bat. You don't have to wait till that third or fourth game, so that's kind of exciting. But it's going to be a crapshoot. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be tough to go in there and just go ahead and come out with a dominating victory. Not that it can't happen. Miami does have, again, Cam Ward aboard now that should be a good offense. Hopefully Shannon Dawson's got this year. He's had a year to put things kind of, get the steam rolling a little bit. I don't know that he's going to go in there and just have everything dialed in perfectly. That would be great to see as a Miami Hurricane fan, of course. But it will be tough it'll be a tough game. Let's not qualm about it. Then you got a home game. The second game of the season is against Florida A&M. that game will be, where you get a lot of first, second, third team out there at that in that game. Coming off, who knows, a win or a loss at Florida. If it's a loss, you would see, a motivated team you'd like to think. That could also go the other way. A team with high expectations gets a loss first game of the season. That really makes the season going to be tough to follow that. But Florida A&M, you would expect that to not be a very tough game as far as getting a victory. That's a lower level school at home. So I'd like to say that you'd probably put that down right now as a win. I don't know that Florida A&M has ever beat Miami. If you go way, 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 way back before football is what it is today, that's maybe the only time I could say that that's a possibility. But you'd like to get younger players in, get them experience. Maybe this is some of the incoming freshman classes' first attempt at getting on the field, showing off that orange and green. So you'd like to say you get your first team defense out there, put up big numbers on offense, show domination on defense, and then get your second and possibly third team units out there to get some experience. That's what you maybe like to see as your first game of the season in an ideal world. But that's just, the season can go one way or the other, but that's probably, you say at worst, you're 1-1. You'd like to see 2-0 at that point of the season. Third game of the season, we got a home game against Ball State. I believe that's going to be one of these games that's hope to say another victory. This is not a major conference school, because now, again, you're going into 2024 with really a Power 4. What's been previously a Power 5, the Pac-12 is basically decimated and spread out between the Big 12, ACC, Big 10. So that game, you'd like to say, is another game where your offense, first team defense is going to go out there, show their domination. You'd like to say that they're, you got talent over this school at that point. You don't want to say that that's going to be a tough game or a close game. As again, being at home, you got things should be kind of starting to gel together. Everyone should start be looking better and better. And then you'd like to say the Miami Hurricanes come out with that at least 2-1. If they lose this game, boy, I don't know where things are going to go, because you got a lot of season to go. You're not even out of September, and if you had, a loss against this kind of a program, it's happened. Don't get me wrong. Mario Cristobal has had a game where nobody expected them to go ahead and lose, but it had, this team came in motivated in the past and has showed that they can knock off the mighty Hurricanes at home even too. So let's not put any team just a clear favorite in this day and age. Anything can happen in football, but you say long term, and this is a early season prediction, that should be a game that Miami Hurricanes should win. And again, you like to say if they're up, first team offense, first team defense, then you get your second and third stringers in there to get some experience. Then an away game, the USF, so University of South Florida up in Tampa, because this is an away game, so it's still in the state of Florida. There's not a great, Tampa's not super far away from Miami. It is a pretty good jaunt up there, but this is still, weather shouldn't be, anything the Miami Hurricanes shouldn't expect. This will be a tougher game than the previous two, not maybe on the level of the Florida and UCF, USF are programs that, every couple of years have strong programs. These areas of the country are littered with talent. You could have a ton of under-the-radar guys. The NIL world, you can have talent spread around. So you'd like to think this is a victory. I do believe USF got a decent quarterback in the transfer portal. So let's not undersell that this is one of these teams in a game where an in-state school could play up. It's on their turf, so they'd be comfortable, of course, in the scene. Also, just like the Miami Hurricanes. So I don't want to sit here and say this is as close to a 50-50 game as the Florida game, but I'm not going to say that, given what I've seen so far from this coaching staff, that this is just a flat-out expected win. This is going to be a game where it could go maybe first offense and defense are going to be on the field. If things go well, maybe you get your second teamers out there at some point later in the game, but I do expect USF will be coming ready to play. So let's hopefully the Miami Hurricanes get that victory, because it is, again, not a Power 4 conference school. That's what the expectations will be. I can't imagine that Vegas or the odds makers will have that as a Miami loss. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm totally comfortable in calling that a victory. So let's say worst case scenario, 2-2. If they get a loss in this game, again, if you're 2-2 the first 4 games of the season, that's not the expectation, especially with a big-time quarterback. But, hey, it could very well be that. If you're 1-3, boy, things are going to be tough. That would be conversations where your coaching staff's going to look at being on the hot seat. So let's say if they're 3-1 or 4-0, that's really what you would expect at this point in the season. Then, back at home, I do believe this is going to be a Thursday game, a prime time game against Virginia Tech. So this is a closer to a 50-50 game. Virginia Tech's one of these programs that hasn't had a great last couple of seasons. They were stronger in 2023 than they were in 2022. That was really kind of a crazy year for the Virginia Tech Hokies. But this is, you say it's a rivalry game. I know these schools have been tied together going back to the Big East days, and it's not a one way or the other. One school has had the edge in consistent times facing off against Miami. So this is, I probably say, a home game. You'd like to say the advantage is Miami's. At this point, you've got lots of experience getting down to this 5th game this season, so you should be dialed in on first-team offense, first-team defense. Things should be set. Starters should be really set. Hopefully things are rolling. Hopefully your offensive coordinator's gotten a good feel for his new quarterback at this stage, and then you're firing on all cylinders. So hopefully it's a Miami Hurricane victory, probably like all the rest of the games. But, this could be one of those games where if it's a loss, that's just the way college football is. They're a big-time program, too. They're, always motivated to play Miami. They always play them tough. It's not a dead set that Miami would win that game in my expectation, but it's probably my thinking is that Miami, being at home, if you're a good offense, if you are a good team in 2024, this should be a game where you have things going in a positive manner. If Mario Cristobal wants to remain Miami Hurricanes head coach, you'd like to think that he gets this one done. Then, the real curveball for the first half of the season, you close out with a cross-country trip to Cal. I believe the last time Miami played Cal was way, way, way back in a bowl game at the end of the season, a game Miami was expected to win. I think this was the end of Ja'Cory Harris. You go way back to that 2008 recruiting class, all the Miami Northwestern kids that really we had high expectations because they were 9-4, I believe, at that season. And then they go in that bowl game. It was not terribly far away from Cal's neck of the woods because it was the PC Computers Bowl or whatever. I believe it was in San Francisco or it was somewhere up in the Bay Area, which is right where Cal is from. So it was more or less a home bowl game for the Cal Bears at that time, and that was a game that was really surprising. A Javid Best, if you go back in that name, and Cam Jordan really came alive in that game and made things difficult on Miami to get their offense going. So what happens 10 years down the road? This is Cal's first year in the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, having a Pacific Coast school in their conference now, which is kind of just the way things are now. But that's a game, I'm going to say again, go down to a 50-50. Cal was not very good in 2023. They did make a kind of a surprising, I believe they beat Washington State. I could be wrong about that. I'm kind of doing this show without having made a deep dive into the results of 2023, but no, I believe that was Stanford that actually had a really bad year last year, and they still ended up beating Washington State, and our quarterback Cam Ward was on that team, of course. So he should have familiarity with this team. Not say the roster top to bottom, because things change really a lot in college football these days, but he should be comfortable in that setting because he played 2 years in the Pac-12, previously the Pac-12 conference, and he should know that scene because he would have played at that stadium. So you'd like to say our offense, Cam Ward, should be comfortable playing that game, but this is moving back a couple time zones. depending on how that game lines up, if it's a later game, it would be a little better for move cross country trip like that. But this will be a tough game. Cal's going to be, I would expect, motivated to play the first year in a new conference. Want to certainly put their best foot forward and make things tough on the Miami Hurricanes at an away game for the Miami Hurricanes. Then you go to the second half of the season, and you've got the Louisville Cardinal in a away game, a game that we couldn't win last year. Louisville has done a good job. I believe they've scooped up a couple of our previous 2023 roster Miami Hurricanes. One that I wasn't excited to see leave with Jaleel Skinner. I do believe John Chaney, the talented running back, but I think we've got other guys that were ready to kind of take more time. So I know that will be a game again where those players will be motivated. Miami has not shown that they're a dominant program up to this coming year, of course. So I do believe that will be, maybe I would say that's a Louisville favored game. That's just the way things have been previously to this point. I don't see Miami going in there and just stomping out a victory and looking super dominant based on past experiences. But that should be first game of the second half of the season. A very tough atmosphere. Louisville has grown as a program. We're in the ACC championship game last year. Seem to know how Braum. This is his second year, so he in his first year was able to get this new team, new roster, motivated and ready to, and showed a good team last year to get them into the ACC championship. Something Miami Hurricanes haven't done in a really long time, since the 2017 season, and it took us 10 years to get there, 10 years plus. So that's going to be a tough atmosphere. I don't think I want to say win or loss, but I do think you see maybe Louisville will be possibly favored in that game. Then the home game against the hated and the rival Florida State Seminoles. So I would probably say that leans to, as of right now, favored towards the Florida State team because they've had the upper hand on us. It's 4 or 5 games in a row now. We have not been able to knock off the Florida State Seminoles. We are in our atmosphere, so that's good. Yeah, you'd like to say this is the point of the season where it's really starting to show who's going to be at the end of those championship games. This is fighting for those places. There's only, they take the top 2 teams. It's not divisions going way back how the ACC was lined up for the first lots of years when these new teams join the conference. So it's hopefully you're starting to. Hopefully, if Miami's doing the things right, they're putting their best foot forward and they go ahead and finally knock off the Florida State Seminoles. But again, a team that's got the upper hand on us. That's just all I can say is the DJ Uwe-Ungale, a Clemson guy, was all the way out in the Pac-12. This is a Pac-12, previous Pac-12 quarterback face-off, with assuming no injuries have happened by this time of the season. This is Cam Ward versus Uwe-Ungale. They've faced off previously last year and should be a great game. I would like to say that's probably more or less one of the possibly primetime games at this stage of the season. And then you got a home game against Duke, a team we used to face year in and year out, but last year we did not get to see. But now they have Manny Diaz as their head coach, coming back home to a team that, let him go after some ups and downs. I would imagine that he's going to have his team ready to come into Hard Rock at this stage of the season. Hopefully, it's a Miami victory, but I would say this is going to be one of those again. This is going to be a battle. Manny Diaz shown great defensive prowess. He was the defensive coordinator for Penn State. They had one of the top defenses in the country. That's how he ended up getting this job. They did get a transfer quarterback, I believe, from Texas. So talented. He seems like an athletic guy. A guy, if you watch our show, that's the kind of quarterback I like to play with. So I assume at this stage will be a battle to get this victory, and against a guy that's very, very accustomed to Miami and knows what we are about, and be a very, very motivated head coach at that stage of the season. Then you've got an away game, Georgia Tech. Last year was a debacle. If we kneel down away from securing a victory against this team, now we're in their neck of the woods. I think their quarterback is second year at this program. who went down and in 26 seconds got a touchdown to beat us. So kind of a miraculous victory, a game that will go down in lore for college football for a lot of years. So a very interesting game. I believe this is a game that will be, again, a tough matchup. You go to Atlanta, it's not terribly far away. It's not like you're switching time zones, but this is a place that this team has just been thrown in our side for 20 plus years. Duke and Georgia Tech, we've seemed to slip up against one or the other, because we used to face these two teams in the division era of the ACC each and every year, and we simply could not get, outside of 2017, a victory against these two squads. So it's 2024. Hopefully Miami's really rolling and we can go ahead and get victories against these teams. And then Wake Forest, home game, getting towards the end of the year. A team we don't face very often, not a powerhouse program in the ACC, so I would suspect maybe Miami's got the advantage in this game. Hopefully Cam Ward is really dialed in, maybe putting up those big numbers that we would expect, and Shannon Dawson's treating his offense well, and Guidry's got the defense locked in. And this closing towards the end of the season, hopefully you're playing for something. Hopefully you're playing for a place in that ACC championship game. Things are going well, and Mario Cristobal is not on the hot seat, of course. And then you close out an away game against Syracuse. This is all the way up at the northern end of the country. Syracuse plays in a dome at this stage of the year. Like, that would be a weather would be kind of a question in this game. But it's indoors. So luckily in the Carrier Dome there, you're not playing against the elements. Miami didn't play too bad in the December Bowl game in Yankee Stadium. I thought the team was right in that game. But this is one of those, slippery, possibly maybe you're getting knocked off of the place of the ACC championship game. Syracuse has Kyle McCord, I do believe, from Ohio State last year. Had a very successful year. He's moved on, I believe, to Syracuse, so I would assume this is going to be a tough matchup to close the season out. Who knows what they're playing for, what Miami's playing for, but when you're going into the Carrier Dome, that's one of those places that can get loud. Very, very good home crowd, as you like to say. So, ending the season, hopefully it's on a high note. I don't want to sit here and say the season prediction, of course, but that's how the schedule lines up with that last game away and at the very, very north end of the country. So 2024 should be a fun year to watch. Each and every week, of course, maybe hopefully more if things are really snowballing by the end of that time frame for Canescast. I'll be bringing more episodes to you. So moving on to the next subject was the NFL playoffs. I did predict the Baltimore Ravens to be the champion. They were knocked off by the Kansas City Chiefs. So, guy, I like to sit here and admit to being wrong. I did say this is one of those where in the NFL it's about each and every year these end of the season games. You have the advantage when you've been there, you've seen it, you've done it. Patrick Mahomes was the defending champion, so he was able to go out there and put his team in the position to beat a very good squad this year. The Baltimore Ravens were good offensively and defensively. I just want to touch on my buddy Lamar. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. I know there's this narrative out there that Lamar Jackson's can't win the big games at the end of the season. I would like to point out that he did really dominating fashion beat an up-and-coming Houston Texans team, 34-10, I believe was the end of the score. So I'm not going to sit here and say I buy into that. This guy's in a competitive conference. When you're playing a guy that's been in 6 straight AFC championship games and a program and a good coach with Andy Reid leading his team there, I'm not going to sit here and crap on Lamar. I think Lamar is what I would 100% sign my team up to build around. You're going to go in as a regular season record. I mean, it's the guy wins like 60% of his games. So I want to have a competitive team each and every year. I don't want to have those Super Bowl contenders to falling off the next year. I think the Baltimore Ravens finally did do what they should have done and paid this man his money when he's, your leading rusher and he's your leading passer. I don't know why there was ever a question why he wasn't signed early, and who knows that, maybe the previous couple seasons if he would have been the 3 seasons ago, he was definitely injured. Last year, there were some questions whether he could come back. I don't know that I would have put myself in the position if your team wasn't really willing to put their investment in you when there's lots of other quarterbacks that didn't get through their rookie quarterback and they'd thrown all kinds of money at him, and then all of a sudden they're hurt too. So I think that the Baltimore Ravens have a good next 4 or 5 years of contenders at bare minimum, with Lamar Jackson showing his progressions as you just get more years of experience, you just get better at passing. That's just the way it is, and he's still a dangerous athlete. He's learning more to break tackles in that backfield and still stay alive as a passer. I think that's just what when you're really first couple years in the league, you have that ability, you really use that as your main threat, and then you start getting developed. I think what Baltimore really, really needs is a big guy. So maybe in the draft this year, maybe a free agent, they need like a T. Higgins kind of guy. A guy, they have decent slot receivers, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. I was not a big fan of the OBJ signing. I thought that guy was best days are way behind him. I think they need to throw that money at a guy that's really got 4 or 5 good years ahead of them to play with Lamar, and they get great tight ends, maybe get a good couple of linemen, maybe to keep things on the protection level. So I just want to sit here and say I'll probably be a big Lamar Jackson fan. I'm not one of those guys that thinks, oh, this guy can't get it done. I'm not going to crap on him, because I think he's everything you want in a quarterback in the NFL level. So it'll be a Super Bowl that will be red and red. It's not the conspiracy theory, the purple and red this year. It's red teams, of course, across the board. I'll probably make my Super Bowl prediction next episode, because we'll have next week to fill after they do the Pro Bowl skills and all that stuff, because they don't play a Pro Bowl game anymore. Nobody was playing in that game. It's always great to be Miami Hurricane fan, and thank you again for sticking around to the end of the show if you're still here. Hopefully hit that subscribe button if you have not yet done so, and hopefully the algorithm keeps pushing this content to more and more new possible viewers. Thank you again, guys. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Thanks for tuning in with us. See you guys.